YouTube video. We're coming back. Hey everyone, we're back. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key, and we are selling Sacramento. Today's show: how much equity should I have in my house before selling? So I want to start this part of the show off by talking about giving you a scenario. I had a friend contact me, and they asked me to run some comps for them for their property. And so I ran the comps, and in running the comps, I found that let me start by saying this. Real estate equity on an average basis year over year should increase 3 to 5%. That's the average. That's a good year when there's nothing really horrible happening and nothing happening off the radar that like what occurred these past couple of years, a 27% equity gain. So a normal equity gain is 3 to 5%. So starting the CMA for my friend, what I first did, because he purchased his home about 3 years ago. So what I did was added just a 5% equity gain over the past 2 years from the time he purchased till now to see what that price point should be. And in doing that, what I found was that, let me back up again. He bought the home. Let me just tell y'all, let me just be transparent about the numbers to give you a window to see through. He bought the home for $525,000. He was, in his mind, thinking that the house should be worth about $700,000 right now. Just like a seller, most sellers think that their homes are worth way more than they actually are. And so we don't fault him for that. We just find the real numbers, right? So I added a 5% equity gain year over year just to give him a plumb line of, if this were a normal market, within 2 years, in 2023 would put his valuation at 573,300. And here's the kicker. I went to Zillow and pulled up his address, and you know how they have the Zestimates for the properties. Guess what the Zestimate said? It was just a few $1,000s off of my 5% valuation. And I thought, well, if you don't know, Zillow has actually gotten out of the iBuyer game because they lost so much over the past couple of years with buying homes, flipping them, putting them back on the market. And so I can see them really tightening up their Zestimate game. But I was surprised that they were so close because they're, you know the saying about Zillow. However, I thought, no, this is a fluke. Let me look up another property. So I had another listing that I had recently ran the comps on using the 5% thing first, 5% formula, and went to Zillow, and lo and behold, just a couple $1,000 difference. Now, I'm not saying to trust that Zillow is using the 5% format, but I was just surprised to see that the numbers were so close. So again, that 5% formula is just to see year over year, averaging, where should my property be as far as my equity gain. However, I did also run what we call normal or traditional comps. And so when I ran the comps again, I found that there was a home right now on the market, exactly the same floor plan as his, with a pool listed at $599. It had been on the market for 56 days, but the interior was outdated, and the backyard with the pool takes up the entire backyard. On the market for 56 days at $599. That's a huge signal that the property is probably not priced right. Going back to what my client initially thought his home was worth, $700,000. Now, when you have these facts, and this isn't even, I haven't even shared the entire set of facts for the comps that I ran for his property, but just what I've given you so far, 700 in comparison to 590 that's not selling, that means 700 is just, you definitely don't want to even try to put your home on the market for 700,000. There were two other homes that would be considered competition, but in my opinion, they lacked the same curb appeal that his home had. One of the homes had been on the market for only 6 days, and it was listed at $539, and it was a 2-story. His is a 1-story. And it actually might get some traction because the floor plan was really nice, but it needs a lot of work. As a real estate professional, when you've been in the industry for a while, you learn how to make adjustments and what things and where to make adjustments for. And sometimes as sellers, when you think your home has all of these wonderful amenities, sometimes you're too close to the situation to see exactly where the discrepancies are. So this home had a really nice floor plan, very nice floor plan, very functional, desirable, but just looking at the pictures, I could see a lot of deferred maintenance. And in the comments, in the marketing remarks, the listing agent actually talked about some specific set of damage to the property that was going to be pretty extensive, which probably then, now you conclude as a professional that that's why it's priced at $539, right? So then that told me that that home is definitely going to sell less than my friend's home if we were to list it. But it hadn't sold. It's still on the market. It's competition. The only thing that matters when you're preparing to list your home are the homes that actually sold, because that determines that this is where buyers are willing to pull the trigger. Just because you see a home listed at one price does not mean that that's what it's going to sell at. There was another property that was listed at $609,000, and it had been on the market for 109 days. It was a little closer to my friend's property's square footage, but it was listed at $329 per square foot. The assessment that I ended up giving my client as I evaluated and assessed all these properties was closer to $307 a square foot. And at $307 per square foot, based on the homes that had actually sold, that put his valuation at $573. So the 5% equity gain would have said $546. But what buyers are really willing to pay, a conservative number, was $573. So in assessing or making a valuation like that, it puts things in better perspective. I believe that it's important to help sellers understand that you can still sell your home and walk away with right equity without having to walk away with that cushioned false equity that's falling away. If you have a real estate professional run your comps and your numbers along this type of a process, versus looking at what homes in your area sold for 3 months ago or 6 months ago, because the stats are showing that all of that equity is being lost on a monthly basis. So that means those numbers, those comps, those homes that sold 3 months ago and 6 months ago, very challenging to use those as real comps because they sold at a higher price that now that same home today won't sell for. The median sales price back in November was 510,000. The median sales price for the month of December, $485,000. That is a 5% drop, 5% decrease. So if I go and take a home that sold in November in my neighborhood and try to say, oh, that house sold for 600,000, I want mine to sell for, no, that's probably not going to work. So I want to jump into, first, before we continue, I want to say that if you're trying to call into the station, that we really want you to jump online on social media and ask any questions, give any shout outs that you might have. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram. I take that back. I say Instagram automatically, but we're not on Instagram Live. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. Look me up, Agent Key, Selling Sacramento. You'll find us live there, and you can join in on the conversations that are happening right now. Hey, Miss Paula, how are you, sis? And you'll be able to get a shout out. Let me know that you're there. Okay, so I want to get back to this information. This is very important for sellers to understand. And if you're watching and listening, and if you're an agent in the industry, if you're out there, if you're in the feed right now, if what I'm saying is making any sense to you, or if it isn't making sense to you, let me know your thoughts. You know, I like to adjust my processes and tweak them and make them better. So if there is something that I'm missing in how I'm concluding these numbers, I'd love to hear your feedback as well. What are you doing? What are you seeing? Let us know. This is how we make the industry stronger. This is how we allow, when we come together on the same page about systems and processes in our industry, it makes us a tighter industry, and it increases the trust level from the consumers when we're on the same page about how we process certain situations, especially things like pricing. You know, at the end of the day, the buyer is going to decide. But the sooner we can help our sellers understand how this thing works, the sooner you can get your seller to list their home and get it sold at the right price, and they're on their way to the next chapter of their life, right? So let's talk a little bit more about how do we get these homes sold in a tough market? How much equity should you have in your home? So most homeowners haven't even paid off their mortgage when they decide to sell their home, right? The stats show that most people who buy will end up selling their home within 5 to 8 years. And so you might wonder how much money you'll have left after the sale of your home. It becomes a challenge if you still owe more on your mortgage than your home's current value. Then you'd have to do a short sale. And I think a lot of people are fretting right now, thinking that because, first of all, there's always been this shadow lurking that the market is going to drop. And now that we're seeing price reductions, there's a little bit of fear and anxiety in sellers because they don't want to lose equity. If you're invested in the stock market, you're not even looking at your portfolio right now. Yesterday, I got a little excited, or the day before, and then yesterday I looked at it again. It was like back down. It was up a couple of days ago, and it's down again. You know, so you just stop looking at it, because in the stock market, you're in it for the long run. I did a lot of purchasing when prices dropped, and so when it goes back up, I'm going to be good. So I'm not looking at it. And the same can kind of be said about your home. because prices are going to go up and down. And when I say kind of, the difference is because when you own a home, sometimes you do need to sell, and it may not be an opportune time to do that. So let's first talk about what is equity. Home equity is your property's market value minus the total amount still owed on your mortgage loan. When you put down a down payment on a new home, you begin with having equity. Your equity will rise as you pay off your mortgage and your home's value appreciates. And remember, while paying your mortgage, not all of your money goes towards the principal balance. Some of your payments will get distributed towards interest. Some of your payment gets distributed towards taxes. When you close your transaction, your lender may have set up something for you called an impound account. And that's where they're collecting your taxes and insurance through your mortgage payment, and they are making those payments for you. So equity does not get included when your money goes towards interest. As you pay off your mortgage, the portion going towards the principal balance gets bigger and bigger. This process is called an amortization schedule. So how does equity affect the sale of your home? Having equity will benefit you as you'll have cash in your pocket after your home's sale by paying off your mortgage and covering your selling costs. In other words, you'll have some money left over to use as a down payment on your next home or to get used for anything else. So, how much equity do you need? In order to determine how much equity you need when you're selling your home, you need to know, why are you selling? What are your reasons for selling? If you're looking to relocate, you'll need a certain percentage, about 10% of your equity. If you're looking to upsize to a bigger home, you'll need at least 15% minimum equity. The more equity you have, the better. The ratios aren't set in stone, but they can be used as a guideline, just like with the 3 to 5% equity gain year over year as an average. Right? So the main aim of having enough equity is to have enough funds from your home sale to pay closing fees and commissions without having out-of-pocket expenses. Having more considerable equity when moving into a bigger home will increase your down payment, or at least a fraction of it. And having more of a down payment will mean a smaller balance owed on the property and an adjustment to that monthly mortgage payment. The more you put down, the less you have to pay. So, do you need equity to sell your home? You can sell your home and break even, but it would be beneficial if you did. If you don't have any equity, you have to pay off whatever part of your mortgage doesn't get paid by the sales price, and you have to cover the sales costs. Oftentimes, when most people don't have equity in their home, they have to sell under what's called a short sale. And I talked about that a little bit earlier. But also, not having equity will mean you'll have no money after selling your home to buy a new one. So you'll want to wait to build up your equity before selling your home. I'm going to my chat to see if we have any questions so far. Okay, out of all of you that are watching, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat and I'll answer them as I go. I promise I'm going to look this time. Okay, so let's talk about how to build more equity. If you want to build more equity before selling your home, you may want to look at ways to increase your home's value. The quickest way to build more equity is by paying off your mortgage. By paying off your loan, you'll reduce the overall outstanding balance that you owe. And the quickest way to pay off your loan, of course, is to get a windfall in the lottery or an inheritance and throw all of that money at that equity. The second quickest way is to get a 15-year mortgage or a mortgage term that is less than 30 years. The quicker the mortgage term, the faster you can pay it off. The other way to pay off your mortgage quick is to pay more towards the principal every month. So if your mortgage payment is $2,800 a month, and you have an extra $200 that you can throw at it, send in a separate payment because you want to identify when you send it to your lending institution. You want to identify that this particular amount of money is going to pay down the principal. And when you pay down the principal, you reduce your interest that you have to pay, and you reduce your principal faster, and you can literally save hundreds of thousands of dollars. That is no overreach. You can save a ton of money when you throw a couple $100 every month at your principal balance. So when you get that income tax check, when you get those small pieces of money that you're wondering what to do, how to invest, you can reinvest that back into your property by throwing it at your principal payment. Another way of building more equity in your home is by making home improvements. If you can't pay your mortgage loan fast, consider making improvements to your home to increase its value, and thereby you increase the equity. So some modifications can include updating the bathrooms, remodeling, upgrading appliances, or adding anything to the house that will increase your home's value and equity. And be very careful about making the home improvements. Three of the most important areas in your home that you should consider improving is your kitchen, your master, or I should say your primary bedroom, and the bathrooms. And I actually want to throw on another one because it's becoming quite popular, the backyard. The backyard is becoming an additional living space in homes these days. And sometimes a backyard done right will sell the home faster than anything else. But if you improve those areas, the kitchen, the primary bedroom, and the bathrooms, then you are adding instant value to to your home overall. And when you do those improvements, you want to avoid DIY. Don't look at it as a project unless you are very skilled. And I really don't say this throwing any shade. When you get ready to sell that home and you put it on the market, these home improvement shows have done two things. They've made people believe that they can do anything in their homes, but then they've also given people a very fine eye for what is wrong and what's right. So you have buyers now who watch the shows just like you. You watch the show and thinking you could do it, but then there are buyers that are watching the show to see, no, that's not right. And so they will walk in your home and they'll easily identify when the workmanship or whatever it is that you've done, whether or not it's good, whether or not it's been done right. So making home improvements, make sure that you have that done by a professional. Make sure that that person is licensed in that area. Look at their references, look at their work. You get what you pay for when you do home improvement projects. So references are really huge, really huge. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about some other ways that you can build more equity in your home as we discuss how much equity you should have in your house before selling. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I'm Agent Key, and we'll be right back. Hey, y'all. Thank you for tuning in. I came back to the chat to see if there were any comments or questions, and y'all are good. So unless you have anything that you want to ask me now while I'm on break, I'm paying attention. Let's see. I want to make sure I get through all of this before the show. This hour goes by so fast.
Especially once you get into it.
Yes. Okay. I want to make sure I squeeze it all in. Okay. I should be able to do it. I'm looking at my information. I should be able to do it, y'all.
You can do it. I can do it. If you know questions in the way, you just have to
right? Hey, Ron, how are you? Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. How's everything going where you are? Are you in Washington? For some reason, when I think about you being out of California, I think Washington up north. But correct me if I'm wrong. I turned my phones off. I hope nobody is. Yeah, that had happened at one point. I was talking about something on the station and people were texting me. Back home in Washington, Seattle. Okay, yeah. So I was right. How is the weather up there? Is it rainy? Because I'm assuming when it rains out here, it's really bad up there. But how y'all holding up in Seattle? I do have some texts, but they are not. They are not show related.
I hear that shit sometimes. I'm getting called, man. You was rolling so hard with it. Like, oh, I like you guys.
Okay, y'all. We'll be back from the break in a few seconds here. We are okay today. No more rain until the weekend. It is cold though. Yeah. It's cold here too. Very cold. Yeah, we are so spoiled. West Coast folks complaining about rain and cold. I did get scared. When the trees started falling, that was kind of like, wait a minute. Why are they coming up out of the ground like that?
That's one of my boys' home.
Oh,
He
really?
was in there too.
I know someone that actually paid $18,000 to have a tree removed from off their house in the not Greenhaven, Land Park area.
Yeah, right out
Crazy.
We got 5 seconds.
Okay, y'all.
2,
We're coming back.
1, we're back.
Hey everyone, we're back. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key, and on today's show, how much equity should I have in my house before selling? The premise of this show is to get you to understand as a seller, if you purchased your home 3 years ago or later, you should have some pretty decent, comfortable equity. Assuming you did not treat your home like an ATM and refinance all of the equity out. That's another thing that you don't want to do. That takes away from your equity. When you and I use the phrase treat your house like an ATM because I want to make it stick, because you know when you're going to an ATM back and forth, you're taking and you're not giving, and you know that that's not a good thing. So when you continue to refinance and you take money out of your house, you're removing the equity. You're removing the security of having that house as a savings for you. You're removing the security of having that house gain equity. You're removing the magic of the house being able to multiply in numbers and financial net worth year after year when you refinance and take money out. So in as much as possible, try to refrain from doing that, because when you actually do get ready to sell because you need to sell or want to sell because a great opportunity came up, then you're going to be asking your agent to perform some kind of black magic that don't exist. I removed all the equity from my home, but I still want to I want to net $100,000. Where are you going to do that at after you took all the equity out? That makes 0 sense. But I hear people say that to their agents all the time because they know that they refinanced the heck out of that house. You should not put that kind of pressure on your real estate agent. And somebody's listening right now, you're doing that or you've done that, and that's why your house is not selling, or that's why your house didn't sell, because you took all the equity out. We're going to get things right on this show. We're going to tell y'all how to get it right. And so, lesson learned. Won't do it again, right? Keep the equity in the house. So, an additional way to build more equity in your house is, of course, price appreciation over time. As we're just talking about, leave the equity there. right? When you are ready to sell your home, you want to get help from a licensed real estate professional. You want to make sure that even if you're following, because I know it's difficult for people to not do, to go on Zillow and see a Zestimate, or there are other websites where you can get some type of an idea of the value of your home. When it's said and done, you don't want to use that number to determine that that's what you want to list your home at. Because those websites, the one thing that they are not able to do is walk around inside your home and walk around in the other homes that they're pulling into the data mix to conclude that this is how much your house is worth. They can't walk around those homes and actually look at the conditions of those homes. They can't assess anything. They're only looking at the numbers. In addition, depending on how far of a reach their system has when they're determining the number, they could be pulling in something that isn't even equivalent to your house. It could be a property right across the street. Some of you may live in a community that was built by Beazer, and then you cross the street and there are Taylor Morrison homes, or you cross the other street and right next to you and there are duplexes, or you cross the other street and there are warehouses with a little house in between, because how Sacramento is built, we have some rural crazy areas where you got houses and then farms and then warehouses. So these systems are not able to conclude that these houses don't match. They're built at different years. They're built by different builders. They have different styles. And if someone has updated or added to, if you live in a neighborhood that has mainly 3-bed, 1-bath houses, and you added a bathroom, you have just over improved your house for the area. When you get ready to sell that home, you can't expect that, well, actually, I take that back. For a 3-bed, 2-bath home in a 3-bed, 1-bath community, I guess it would depend. See, so now here's the other part. It depends on the location. So when you over improve for your area, you have to make sure that over improvement, because you're going to expect that you should get more for your house. Make sure that people actually want to pay that amount for the area in which your home is located. And I've had a few situations where I've had clients over improve their homes. And in order to actually find the right price, we say, for example, if they think the house is worth $370,000, well, where else in a 5-mile radius could somebody buy a home for $370,000? And if they could buy it over there, why would they buy it here? So you have to really be careful when it comes to over improving your home. And finally, selling your home to a cash buyer. I want to talk about that. When you do that, that can be daunting, but sometimes there can be light at the end of the tunnel, because if you have a home that needs to be fixed up and you don't want to make any repairs, an all cash buyer is the quickest way to get it done, because they don't care. The only thing is, with an all cash buyer, and you don't want to improve your home and you want to sell it as is, they are not going to offer you top dollar, because they're looking at all that it's going to take to fix that home. So they're looking at the potential and what they need to put into it. So you want to consider that as well. And the reason I bring that up is because there are a lot of iBuyer companies that are still out there making offers on your homes. And a couple of years ago, some of y'all were getting offers that were out of the water. These same companies now are offering literally $100,000 less than what they were a couple of years ago. So that's what they're taking a look at. It's almost my time, but before we go, I want to let you know, I want to give you a SAC Club 100 update on January 6, 2023. SAC Club 100 is the community that we put together with an effort to help get 100 buyers into home ownership in Sacramento in 2023. So on January 26, I gave an update that we had 38 conversations, 18 pre-approvals, 11 people actively searching for homes, 3 offers under contract, and 1 closed escrow. And today I am excited to announce that we have 72 people who have reached out. We have 9 conversations scheduled to happen just within these next 2 weeks. We have 11 people actively searching for homes and 4 closed escrows. And so if you have ever thought about home ownership, we know that market conditions are changing right now. In addition, mortgage rates are doing the dance, y'all. Stay close to a mortgage lender so that you can pull the trigger when if you're out there looking to buy right now. Make sure you're checking in with your mortgage lender because those rates are dropping. In addition, with the prices dropping, sellers are offering incentives in order to help you buy down the rate to make it more affordable. So go to Join Club 100, joinclub100.com, and let's have the conversation. My team and I are ready to help you map out a plan towards home ownership. Just think about, if you've never thought about home ownership, then this is right for you. This is the time for you. This is the season for you. This is where things are beginning to line up in your favor, but opportunity can happen only if you are prepared. And through Join Club 100, we help get you prepared. So go to joinclub100.com and let's have the conversation. I am Agent Key, y'all. And remember, if you are doing what you were created to do, I will see you at the top. Hey, Miss Shalon. How you doing, dear? Yes. You joined Club 100 to have the conversation. Y'all better get with Miss Shalon. Okay, you guys, I gotta take off. I have a 3 o'clock appointment. I gotta hit the road. I'll see y'all next week. Bye.